sports fans, ASMR Sports, right back at you. Hope everybody's doing well. I have a modified audio recording setup. I'm going to show you right over here. Actually, I had to get this little mixer piece, which I wired up to the audio interface that I'd been using just on its own, but the mixer allows me to have some more audio inputs other than the two mics that I use for my recording, which is necessary if I want to have some gaming content, because I've got to get the audio from the unit, the game unit. So anyways, right now we actually in my town here where I live, Fargo, North Dakota, just yesterday we got there was the grand opening of Guitar Center here, which is, if you're not familiar with, musical instruments and their, where you purchase them, Guitar Center is a national chain for, selling music equipment and instruments. But the closest one that we have is in Minneapolis, and in Fargo we actually don't really have any sort of full range musical store. We have Schmidt Music, which sells guitars and pianos and some things accessory wise, and we have a store that sells just kind of drums and drum accessories, but no real place to buy recording equipment or sort of MIDI electronic music stuff, or a lot of the other little kind of things that I end up needing for my recording setups. So I'm excited to have that available, because they're actually pretty good on pricing too. They pretty much have the same prices that you would pay at an online store, so it's nice to have that here. Alright, well today I wanted to crack into this guy, which I just got the other day, the Sega Genesis. Actually, I'm going to see, let's see, I don't know if I can zoom out with this this camera app that I'm using. I've been using this camera app as opposed to the built-in camera app on the iPhone for, I don't know, a month or so now, but I'm not sure how to switch the camera midstream, so I guess maybe I won't do that, but I'll try to show you. Well, let's go like this. So this is the Sega Genesis Mini 2. And there was a Sega Genesis Mini original, which had, I think 40 or 50 games on it. The usual suspects, like the early Sonic games. Golden Axe was probably on there. All the most popular Genesis games, and this one has kind of a deep cuts. Some of the sequels to that stuff, there's Sonic Blast. I think Sonic 1, 2, and 3 were on the original Genesis Mini, and this one does not have any of those, but it does have Sonic CD, which was for the Sega CD system, and you see it on the upper right there, upper left. There's another the Sega CD game as well. And you see Phantasy Star 2. I wonder if Phantasy Star was on the original Genesis Mini. But anyways, let's see what we got inside, shall we? this. I should have this up kind of well before the midnight hour, hopefully. So this box is very small. You know, I would say this is about, I don't know, like a third or a fourth of, well, I guess probably a third of the size of the actual Genesis system. Actually, I take that back. I think it's about a fourth the size. Very, very small. Most of the box is the accessories. So, this is just a silly HDMI cable. Who needs more of those, right? I got like 20 of them. This is a USB, like USB-B to USB micro cable, and my guess is this is for charging. So probably this is like a little USB port charger that we'll plug this cable into, and then the micro will go into the unit itself. Correct. So really don't even need this if you have like USBs laying around, you know, from a computer or something. But I'm not sure I will have that, so I'll probably use this charger that came with, so that's nice. Let's do the unit next. So there you have it. Little tiny unit. I'll put that next to a baseball card so you can kind of see it's actually just a little bit taller than a baseball card, and like maybe almost 2 baseball cards in width. So very small, and they put these like sort of ornamental doors here, but there's no way to put a cartridge in there. It's just kind of a fun little thing. And you know, it's a plastic, all plastic. Feels, you know, fairly solid. I mean, the original Genesis was just all plastic case, so it's about as sturdy as that. And then on and off and a reset. Those feel pretty sturdy. And then USB plugins for the controllers. Now there's 2 controller plugins, but this only comes with 1 controller, so you'd have to buy a second one extra if you wanted to play 2-player games. So this is the controller, and I gotta tell you, for me, having, you know, a controller that is you know, basically the same as the ones that came with the original Sega Genesis, and that is supplied by the manufacturer, is pretty important. Somebody, you know, had asked why if I would get one of those like sort of multi-emulator systems that you can get on you know, Amazon and eBay. And you know, one of the reasons I don't really like those things is because, you know, they're relying on emulators that are, you know, developed by people who are not the manufacturers of those systems, and the controls are often, I think, you know, not ideal. You know, you have a third-party controller, and if or 30 different systems that are emulated on that box, then, you know, you gotta map all the controls the right way to the controller that you have. And, you know, when you get something like this, or like the Super Nintendo equivalent of this, you know, you've got a controller that basically, you know, is gonna map directly to the games without any configuration. And for me, that's, I don't know, that's ideal, because I get very annoyed when, you know, buttons aren't doing the things I want or expect based on, you know, having played these systems when I was a kid. So yeah, so this controller, and you know, I've watched reviews of this system online, and, you know, they said the controller is pretty solid, so I was, you know, expecting some pretty decent stuff. There's a button up there too called mode. Not sure that was on any of the, like, Sega Genesis systems, so that might be something unique to this particular unit. But yeah, it feels real nice. Buttons have nice firm clicks. And it's a 6-button controller. The original Sega Genesis Mini came with only a 3-button controller, like the original Genesis. So that was not so great. I remember I had one of those 6-button controllers when I was a kid, and I had a Sega Genesis, you know, in my house. So glad to see that this one comes with it. Now I want to take a little bit deeper look at the games that are on here, because I'm pretty excited to get into those. Wow, sorry. Very loud noises with the box here. Okay. So here's like the list. I'm trying to get that in focus. Maybe I'll just go like that. But alright, so you got Afterburner 2, Alien Soldier, Atomic Runner, Bonanza Brothers, Clay Fighter, Crusader of, it says Senti, but is that like Century or something? I don't know, maybe just Senti. Desert Strike, Return to the Gulf. I remember I played that when I was a kid. I remember renting that at one point, and really enjoying it. But you know, when you rented games as a kid, I'll let this rest since we're far enough down the list. When you rented games as a kid, you know, you only got to keep them for like a weekend typically, or usually a week, but oftentimes you only had a weekend rental. Like when new games came out, they only let you have them for 2 days, or else it was like crazy expensive. So I just remember playing that a lot in a weekend and really being sad when I had to return it, but never played it again. So I'll be excited to play that. Alright, Earthworm Jim 2, Elemental Master, Fatal Fury 2. So Fatal Fury is one of these games that's like basically the same engine as these games called Final Fight. They had Final Fight 1, 2, and 3, I think. And I played a lot of that game, like in the arcade Final Fight. So that'll be a fun one. Gain Ground, Golden Axe 2. I played a lot of Golden Axe on the original Genesis. Granada, I remember that title, but I don't remember playing it ever, so I know that's, you know, a pretty popular one. Hellfire, Herzog Zui, Lighting Force Quest for the Dark Star. That sounds like a scrolling shooter, which is my favorite. Midnight Resistance, Outrun. Outrun is just like a silly kind of car, you know, racing in a car, but you're just going through, like, you know, normal streets, not in a racetrack. So I'm surprised that's on here. I remember that being like one that was like on the original Sega, not the Sega Genesis, but the 8-bit Sega. So I'm not sure what the Sega Genesis one is like, if it's like just a higher resolution version of that one that was on the original or something else. But Outrun is on here, and then Outrunners. Phantasy Star 2. I feel like Phantasy Star is a like a RPG. I am gonna try to turn this HVAC off. Because I just really prefer to have it as quiet as possible so I can hear better. And you all can hear too. I know some people don't mind it because it's kind of a white noise. But I don't know. Call me a purist. I just really prefer it to be off, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, that's going to hopefully be going off soon. Continuing on, Populous. I know that was a very popular game, I think, on the PC. I feel like that was kind of like a SimCity type game. I might be wrong, but I thought that's what that was. Rainbow Islands. That says extra right there. I don't know what that means. Rystar. I remember that being spelled R-Y-S-T-A-R. Rolling Thunder 2, Shadow Dancer, Shining Force 2, Shining in the Darkness, Sonic 3D Blast, Splatterhouse 2, Streets of Rage 2. Streets of Rage was another one of those like Final Fight games that I think all the same publisher made. Final Fight, Streets of Fury, Streets of Rage. No, not Streets of Fury, was Fatal Fury and Streets of Rage, like, made all of those, and they're very similar games. But they're fun, just kind of beat 'em up games. And Super Hang-On, that's a motorcycle one. Super Street Fighter 2, the Challengers. So it's been a while since I played Super Street Fighter, but I always enjoyed it. I kind of knew the moves for, like, the two, like, American dudes, or the karate-like dudes, or their names, Ken and Ryu. Let's try to... Sorry for the handheld stuff here, but... Alright, so Street Fighter 2, The Ooze, The Revenge of Shinobi. That was another one where I felt like, that was on the original Sega system, but that might have been Shinobi. Just the first Shinobi. Alright, Toe Jam and Earl. I know that was a super popular one, but I just never played it or got into it. Truxton, Vectorman 2, Viewpoint, Virtua Racing, Warsong, Introducing. I don't know what that means. Deviant Pie, Fantasy Zone, Spatter, Space Harrier 2, Star Mobile, Super Locomotive, and VS Puyo Puyo Sun. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Like, it almost suggests that these games were not, like, on the original systems, and they just brought them out for this particular product. But I can't imagine that's true unless there are games that were in development that just never got published. And then at the last section here is Sega CD. So again, these are going to be pretty, elaborate games in terms of graphics and worlds. You could fit a lot more on that Sega CD than you could on a cartridge. So the graphics are, generally much better on those, although, it still uses the Sega chip to render those games, but the, quantity of content that you could put into the game was much more significant on the Sega CD as opposed to the cartridge-based games. Alright, so get Echo the Dolphin, Echo the Tides of Time. Again, those were very popular games, Echo the Dolphin. I remember they had a lot of commercials for Echo the Dolphin back in the 90s, and I never really played it, but it'll be fun to get into that. Ooh, Final Fight CD sounds very interesting to yours truly, because I mentioned I played lots of Final Fight. Mansion of Hidden Souls, Night Striker, Night Trap, Robolest, Skier Shark, Shining Force CD, Sylphid, Sonic the Hedgehog CD. I really wonder what that is, if that's like just a really expanded version of Sonic, the original game, or just a totally, new Sonic game. I think it's the latter, but we'll find out. And then the last one is the Ninja Warriors. So just a ton of really cool sounding games. My plan is to, do like a video of each of these games over probably several months, because because I still got all my sports card content I want to, do on the reg. But luckily, when I'm posting daily, I have a lot more opportunity. Although it sometimes occurs to me I might need to post twice a day to cram all this stuff in. But I'm actually not sure that would help anybody, including you, if you have too many videos to watch. So I'll probably stick to one a day, but should have lots of content. And I have a weekend coming up here, and then there's the holidays next weekend, Thanksgiving holiday. So hopefully we'll have some time to explore this. I'm excited to do that, and if I get 40, 50 videos over a few months out of this system, it's a great deal. I think I paid like $100 some, $120. It's like $99 for the system. And then it's like $20 to ship it because it comes from Japan. So it's, mostly the shipping that makes this expensive. But $100 for all these games and content is pretty affordable. I've got a video coming up of this guy, Prism Hobby, and this is probably a $120 box. And it's gonna make one video, and we're gonna get like about 3 picture autos, and I'm gonna get mad. You guys are gonna laugh at me, and that seems like a way worse deal than the Genesis in terms of content per dollar. So maybe I'll do more of these video game ones over time, but we'll see. I am excited to see what a lot of those games look like and kind of explore them a bit. But I'll tell you, I'm terrible at video games, so I'm not going to get very far into any of the games that I play. But hopefully we can see what the graphics look like. And what I probably will do is a little bit of research on each game to kind of just sort of remind myself of what it was about, when it was published, kind of what the what the critical reaction to it was at the time and stuff like that, so I can give you guys a little bit of that background context for each game, and we can have hopefully a more fun time enjoying the gameplay after getting into some of those details. So that's what we got for today. I hope everybody is doing well. Hope you're excited for some video game content, and lots more sports car content on the way. So we will catch you all very soon. You have a great one.